who feel like we do so much for everyone. Everything else, we put them before ourselves. We sacrifice so much of our time for everything. We work so hard for our jobs, but it's a lot of times that's so unfulfilling what we do in our day job. And I finally just got to a place where I realized I know I'm meant for more. I kind of always known that. I
Yeah.
just didn't really believe in myself.
There are people who come into our lives and change our perspective forever. Sometimes the encounter is so profound that not only do we transform, but are shifted toward a greater purpose of showing others how they too can transform. And this is the story of Mary Dibble, a certified life coach who centers her practice on inspiring mothers to lean into their strengths amid the challenges and hectic demands that motherhood can bring. Mary shares her journey of juggling all the different life roles to learn the importance of self-care and mental well-being. Mary talks about her passion to empower hardworking moms to embrace their purpose and to tap into their authenticity. She shares her coaching program's steps towards creating self-awareness, self-love, and time management skills. Mary also highlights the importance of changing one's perspective and searching for positivity in every situation, which is also a key message in her upcoming podcast, Radiant Mom Rising. I invited Mary onto my show intentionally to highlight the fact that our menopausal experiences can have a lasting impression on our children, in particular, our daughters. While Mary isn't quite yet in the perimenopausal stage herself, she vividly recalls her mother's silent struggle during menopause. And so Mary incorporates these insights into her life coaching business. No matter what age or stage you're at in the menopausal transformation, there is most certainly a message in Mary's story. Let's have a listen.
Couple of busy mamas talk about trying to coordinate our calendars. It's like, wait, do you got the Zoom link? No, wait, you send it to me. Wait, what? No, what? Oh, wait. Okay, but I got a podcast interview. Yeah, but I got another one booked here. What calendar? I think this is
Oh my
perfect.
goodness.
I'm actually very happy that this happened because we're going to talk about what it's like to be a busy mama,
Yes.
no matter how old or young our children are, and everything that's involved with being a multitasker, a careerist, a mother, a daughter, a friend, and it's so much going on. But I love what your Instagram bio says. Just to paint the picture for all of our listeners, empowering hardworking moms to pursue their aspirations, embrace their purpose, and reclaim authenticity, guiding you with heart. I love that. Guiding
Oh,
you with
yeah.
heart. So I'm trying to take my focus all on things that are very heartfelt and endearing. And I also have to do a shout out or a little warning to the listeners. If you hear doors closing and opening, that's at my house. This is a busy household at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Roll with it, right?
Right.
Just roll with it. Beautiful background music.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, like you say, such is life. And Mary, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, it is the prime example what just went through with us of how crazy things can get and stuff like that. But it also shows how things also work out, right? I mean, it just everything worked out the way it was meant to. So hallelujah to that.
Yes. Hallelujah to that. So, Mary, tell us all about your magic, your special sauce.
Awesome. Well, I just, as a mom myself, who's always been hardworking, I felt I needed to give back because I learned so much when I first got discovered with a life coach. She took me on an amazing transformative journey of really getting me to know myself for the first time, like outside of being a mom, outside of being a wife, and figuring out, that there's more to me, that I have my own unique purpose to give to the world. And it was such a beautiful experience and journey that I felt, oh my goodness, there's so many other moms who are going through the same thing, who feel like we do so much for everyone. Everything else, we put them before ourselves. We sacrifice so much of our time for everything. We work so hard for our jobs, but it's a lot of times that's so unfulfilling what we do in our day job. And I finally just got to a place where I realized I know I'm meant for more. I kind of always known that. I
Yeah.
just didn't really believe in myself.
Oh,
And so she really helped me to learn about self-love, taking care of myself, showing up for myself first and foremost so that I can truly show up for everybody else. And that's what I do. I want to be your biggest cheerleader. I want to help guide you and be that support that you need to help you uncover those limiting beliefs, those things that are holding you back in life, and help you to discover what is your unique purpose and how can you, utilize that in a way that could, you know, that you can maybe monetize or just find a hobby that's fulfilling with it, whatever you need to fill your cup. Like that's what I want to help guide you towards, to figuring out for yourself and then creating actionable steps that you can start working towards to create a life that you desire, because we deserve it and it's possible.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's been a great journey.
that's great. It's true. As children, we love to play, and it fulfills us. It sparks our imagination. There's creativity. We feel alive. We feel vulnerable, but we don't think about it in those terms. We're just here to explore, to have fun, and then comes the layers. First, the layers of how our mothers perceive us to be in the world, and the guidance and the coaching that they give us, which could be good or bad. And
Mhm.
then the role that we see ourselves entering into our careers. And then we add on the layer of maybe being a spouse, a partner, and add on the layer of being a parent to our children. And then add on the layer of being the caretaker of our aging parents. And all those layers add up, and we forget somewhere in there the child that just wants to play. And that's who we were. We dreamed about big things when we were kids. I want to be this. I want to be a rocket scientist. I want to be a nurse. But then
Yeah.
we just forget. So I really like the fact that you make it transformative.
Yeah.
It's like, in a way, it's like, would you say it's like returning to who we always were and always were meant to be?
Exactly. It's like returning to your roots, like
Yeah.
really, really finding yourself again through it all and just giving yourself the credit and the love and the support that you've always deserved all along, because everything you're looking for is within you. It
Mm-hmm.
really is. And sometimes we just need that help to discover it all and to get that strong foundation created so that we can go out there in
Mm-hmm.
the world and handle life and the obstacles, because no matter where we are on our journeys, things are going to happen, and that it's not always going to go our way. It's going to be hard at times. Things are going to be wild and busy and crazy, but it doesn't mean that you have to let that stop you or overwhelm you or burn you out. There are great ways to, make the best of a situation, see the silver lining in things, learn from it, grow from it, embrace it almost, and to have a change of perspective even towards the things that would once stress you out. And for me, that was one of the greatest things I ever did for myself, was like changed my perspective and stop allowing stuff that would really like throw me into such a frenzy, get me so upset and whatnot, and just be able to like breathe and see the beauty in it and
Mm.
just like be okay with it. Just be okay with it and just understand, hey, I'll get this taken care of when I get it taken care of. Things will work out one way or another, and it's going to happen even better than I could probably imagine. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful way of living. And that's what I want to share with the world. Like, we
Okay.
don't have to live in negativity and this limiting life of like, we're just handed the cards we're dealt and we just got to deal with it. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much more out there, and it starts with you and what you're willing to do and work on for yourself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Starts
Mhm.
with you. I like that. Change the perspective, and it doesn't have to be negative. And those are three key ingredients, if you will, three key messages about that menopausal transition that I'm reaching out to tell women too. Is when you go through this transition, I think of it as more like transformation. You're discovering who you're going to be after the period in your life where you're no longer at the childbearing years, and you're entering into a new phase, but make it transitional. So it's more exploratory, and it comes with having that mindset, that change perspective, And we have to shatter that negative mindset. And I wanted to, or the negative narrative around that phase that we enter, that transition. So I wanted to ask you, have you worked with, or are you going to be focusing on women that are entering into that menopause phase, or have you been dealing with women already who are going through that phase?
I feel like I deal with that with my mom a
Oh,
lot because
wow.
she's been through that, and she had a actually it's funny watching her go through it has made me be more mindful of myself because
Okay.
I she's always kind of been a very negative person, and
Mm.
she's working on it. She is, and I love that I can help try to encourage it, but it's still a very big conditioning of hers that she really has yet to face. Um, so watching her go through that experience and fall into the crazy depression that she went
Mm.
through, and the massive bleeding, the not feeling good, not,
Mm-hmm.
just the up and downs made me realize, like, okay, I don't want to experience it in that way. And I don't have to, actually. And I love that because I think that's why it's so important what you're doing, Mary, because you're helping so many women out there who probably have yet to experience it, or maybe in just that starting stages, not have to go through it in such a negative manner, because it's part of life and there is a beautiful way to perceive it. And the more we get more in tune with who we are and looking at life in a different way like that, the easier it is to go through those transitions without feeling like it's the end of the world or like letting it get the best of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's quite interesting that you can now take a page out of your mother's playbook, or not, but take a look at what's happening in her life and recognize that that isn't what you want to go through. I know for my generation, I'm at that age where I am in the perimenopause years, and my mother's generation, baby boomer, early baby boomer, absolutely did not talk about it whatsoever. And so there was this veil of silence. And therefore, we can't lean into our mothers and get those little tips and coaching. They'll for sure talk about menstruation and puberty with us, but heaven forbid, because it's the menopause, it's almost as if you have to admit that you're succumbing to this radical change, and your youthful years are over and it's all downhill. And unfortunately, now my generation of Gen Xers are saying, oh man, we didn't get any guiding principles, we didn't get any mentorship. We're kind of rewrite this whole narrative now. And it's happening. It's happening with the number of podcasts that are out there, articles, and of course with the power of artificial intelligence, you just have to say the word menopause by your phone and all of a sudden you're inundated with all kinds of information.
I bet.
And the opportunity to become menopause coaches is right at our doorstep, which goes hand in hand with being a life coach too. What is the hardest part about being a life coach, do you find?
I think it would be certain people that you want to help so bad, that you
Mm,
want to help them to see the things that are holding them back, and you want them to get to that other side. But there are, unfortunately, will always be those people who just are resistant. And no matter what you try to help them through and whatnot, they're just not willing to show up and do the work themselves. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you can provide them with all the solutions, strategies, tools, and things like that, but it's still up to them to
yeah,
make that change for themselves. And
right.
it's heart wrenching when you see them almost kind of going there, but then they get stopped in some way or another and go back to their old comfort zone, old ways, or give up. Even just seeing that alone, like with my mom, has been a hard thing in my life. So to see that with other people that I want to help, that I see such amazing potential, that just won't see it for themselves. Like it's sad because they're depriving this world of such beautiful gifts and talents and stories or whatever they're meant to do. They're letting that time just pass them by and not stepping into that place that would literally change their whole life and the outcome that they want.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge right there, is knowing that you can't save them all.
Right. So you can only bring them along in your coaching program. You bring them along, and then
Yeah.
finally you just have to set them free, and they'll either soar beautifully or not.
Yeah.
But what are some of the steps, without giving your coaching program away, but
Oh,
what
yeah.
are tell us, what are some of the
Yeah.
key
So
steps?
for first and foremost, one of the things we always work on in my program is your awareness. You
Mm,
can't really make real change if you're not even aware of the stuff that is holding you back. Some of the conditioning and programming that's been put into your subconscious mind from when you were a child that you're like a lot of times completely unaware of. And learning about your behaviors and the triggers and things like that. So we kind of work on focusing on uncovering that stuff and learning how to be more in your present moment, because that's so important, and really not only building that awareness but also helping you to get a little bit of control back on how you respond and things like that. So that's kind of the beginning of that journey, and then from there we kind of work on digging into self-love and self-care and understanding the importance of it and how you can start taking action now, no matter how busy your life is or whatnot, where you can truly create time. We go over time management options, things like that, different ways that you can start doing self-care now, and figuring out too, what does that mean for you too, because everyone's different. And I think that's a big part of my program that I'm even working to extend it on, because I want to start with you, because that's where it begins. You got to build that foundation, right? And then from there, if there's somebody who, let's say, finds that they are desiring to become an entrepreneur, they want to become a coach themselves, or they're like, oh God, I've always dreamed of doing this and that, but I don't know how to get started. I want to be able to bring them some advice, some tools, some support with that as well. Figuring out their purpose. What are you meant to do in this world? Where do you want to go? What kind of goals do you see for yourself down the line? And let's work our way backwards to start, actually making it happen for you, because baby steps are huge, actually, when you are a
yeah.
busy mom, that make such progress more than you realize. And that, I think there's this like pressure sometimes we have as moms or even just women, that we have to do this huge, step. We have to make these huge changes and jump and make these big leaps. But sometimes that's the things that kind of prevent us from getting things done, because it's like, whew, that's a lot, to take
Yeah.
on. And that can be very discouraging. So my goal is to figure out with who I'm working with, what's your life like? What's your schedule like? Let's figure out what you can and, can do to
Mm,
make things happen. And, my goal with everything I'm doing as far as sharing my tools and strategies along the way is, most importantly, just being that support for you. I don't care, no matter where we are on our journey, there's nothing like having somebody who's like your cheerleader, who has your back, who doesn't judge you, who just cheering you on on every little achievement, and just making sure that you know, you're not alone, that you
mm,
got somebody there you can turn to, you can talk about and be vulnerable with, and know that it's going to be okay, that we got you. You got this. You got this. That reminder of somebody just being there for you. And that's what I want to do for, most and foremost with my program. So it's all about that support and that encouragement, and that, figuring out who you truly are authentically, what's your purpose, and how can we get you to where you want to be and create the successful business or life that you're looking for.
right. Yeah. What's the number
Yeah.
one question that clients will ask first off when they meet you, when they hire you?
Um, Oh, okay. So usually if someone hires me, they always ask like pretty much, what do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do? How do I get started? Like, and so, which is a great question. You're right, because that's what leads you to me in the first place. It's like, well, what do I do? What am I here for?
Yeah. So even the ones that don't quite recognize and are willing to accept their beautiful golden talents and don't see past the negativity or the obstacles, but deep down inside, you just buried is that desire to transform, because they wouldn't have gone to you in the
Hmm.
first place.
Yeah.
There was already an inkling to say, something needs to shift, something needs to change. I gotta go somewhere to do it.
Yeah.
And we would always, I don't know what it is, and we were just, were we taught this, did we pick it up like you said from our conditioning,
Mhm.
this early onset programming from maybe our mothers or watching our fathers? and idolizing our fathers and just thought, you got to figure it out, you got to fix it, you got to get her done all by yourself. And all of a sudden, we're realizing after many generations of doing this that maybe it doesn't work, or maybe we should go back to the old, and I mean this like in the most respectful way, the old tribal way or ancestry way of where we are always in community. And we're, as a community, we're there to rise each other up, you know? And so just having that, I love how you say that, just having that cheerleader in your back pocket,
Yeah, yeah,
unjudgmental, and
yes,
just,
it's
yeah.
so important, and for anyone's development, for your growth. I mean, we all need that because,
Mhm.
first of all, unfortunately, we don't do that enough for ourselves, and we should, but we don't. And, everyone has a different lifestyle. Like some people don't have a supportive spouse, some people don't have supportive parents, they don't have supportive friends. I was kind of like that along my journey as a mom. Like when I had my kids later on in life, so many people that I wanted to be there, that I thought who said they would be there, they abandoned me. They weren't there. They just stopped inviting me. They stopped showing up because I had babies, and
Ah,
they either didn't have kids or had older kids. And so it was very hurtful, especially going through that postpartum depression that I went through, being at home, because I actually worked from home full time on top of having two kids kind of back to back. So here I have this newborn, a toddler, and I'm working from home, and I just was so alone. I mean, thankfully I have an amazing husband who did all that he could, but he had to work, and there's something about that feminine energy and the support of a woman, because we just get each other, that you just crave as a woman. I feel like, so it's not even about like he did all that he could. He was always there for me. He's great, and it's nothing against him. I'm so thankful to have an amazing husband like him. But at the end of the day, I really wanted some girlfriends. I just wanted
yeah.
someone to take me out for a drink, or just come over and just give me a break, or just give me some adult conversation. And I didn't even have that. And so my hope is to build a community now for moms where you don't have to feel alone. If you are going through a hard time with postpartum, or just going through a certain change transition, and you just want someone to be there to talk to help uplift you when you're feeling that down, during those down times, I'm here. That's what
Mhm.
I want to do. It is truly my passion, and I really want to make as much difference as I can for as many moms out there that I can.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually took the words out of my mouth when you said we're drawn to that feminine energy. It's like attracts like, and we need to vibrate at the same frequency with the others that are vibrating at that frequency, just to feel that energetic boost that helps replenish the soul, right? And when it's
Yeah.
missing, we feel so alone. And our lonely, I honestly believe the woman's loneliness is far different than just your general feeling lonely because you don't have friends to play with as a child. It's something deeper. I'm feeling very much more aware of it as I dive deeper into the menopause training as a doula, is that there is this deep hearted loneliness, this yearning for something. And then having spoken with so many women now, it's community, it's the leaning into one another, sense of community.
Yeah.
And that's actually ironically how you and I met, is through a community that was
Yeah.
created from the
Mhm.
lovely Kathy Heller with her podcasting group, and showing women that it's, yes, it's your turn to podcast. That's literally the name of the course. And raising each of us up. It's beyond just learning how to podcast. It's about how to actually break the negative stigma attached with what it's like to be a woman in this world. It isn't competition. Whoever said it had to be competition? It's
Right.
collaboration.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And and I love it, because for so long I felt so like I felt so reserved. I was so afraid to put myself out there because of certain people in my life who did treat me like they were always in competition with me. And I actually at one point lost a cousin because she was very competitive with me in my life, and she couldn't even handle being happy for me when I got married. Like she couldn't even handle it, to where she like tried to ruin it, and just she
Wow.
ended up like not speaking to me for like 4 years after it. And it was like, and I felt guilty at first. I felt like, what did I do wrong? But really now, especially now, I've realized, it was her projecting her unhappiness, because she was not in a happy marriage. And so she was projecting that onto me, and she was just sick to see me so happy. And unfortunately, some people like that can't be happy. Now, however, I'm proud of her because she's come a long way and we're good now. And she's good. It took her realizing, she would even say, Mary, I was selfish. I'm realizing that about myself. And she's doing the work on her. And I'm so proud of her. And she really has come a long way. And I look forward to seeing where she goes, for sure. But I mean, still, it's just, I had that experience for so long of feeling like I have to be careful, walk on eggshells, or around certain women, who I did have around me, some who were family in law who, I felt they projected the fact that their husband had cheated onto me and assumed that I was like a threat. And so I would, this was like this kind of experience that led me to feeling like I wasn't allowed to be me. Like I had to be
Mm.
careful how I dressed, how I talked, how I acted. And so I got to the point where I just kind of just stayed away.
Oh,
And I hated that
yeah,
because
yeah.
I lost people. I felt even more alone until I got into this coaching world. Like you say, this program alone with Kathy has been phenomenal. This journey's been great. You really do start attracting amazing people into your life when you start tapping more and more to who you are and being true and showing up for yourself and just putting yourself out there. You really will attract the right people for you. And I'm just seeing that more and more every day, which gets me more excited to know that, okay, I'm really on the right path in my life right now. I'm so
Yes.
excited.
It shows you're radiating. I mean, the listeners are listening audio can't see your radiating face, but let me just say she's radiating, everyone.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So is your mom starting to lean into some of the work that you're doing, and she kind of making those assessments for herself, thinking, maybe I shouldn't be such a negative Millie?
Yes, and I'm like I said, she's got a long ways to go, but I will say recently, she's got diabetes, and
Okay.
she had a very bad episode where her blood sugar went up over 300,
Oh
and at
dear.
work she was getting lightheaded, and she had to go see a doctor, and she realized like this is serious, which I've been, it's like you kind of want to tell somebody that, but they got to make it, make her own decision about it. But what I'm so proud of her about is I've been sharing with her about some of the amazing women that I've met who have, talked about holistic ways and your health and the importance and things like that. And so she decided on her own to start really researching it. And she did. She looked up yoga for people with diabetes. She looked at meal plans. So
That's
she's
beautiful.
actually making action, and she's taking action. And oh my God, I'm so proud of her, because like within a week's time, she's just completely changed her diet. She's eating salads. She's, doing yoga. She's taking care of herself. She's being mindful about healthy meals and the carbs, because she's from Trinidad. So she's Indian. So they eat a lot of the spicy foods and the rice and all them carbs and things like that. So
Yes.
she's being mindful. And I couldn't be, and I tell her that every time I talk to her, I was like, I couldn't be more proud of you, Mom. Keep it up. Keep going, because your life matters. We want you to be around. She's like, I do, Mary. I want to see my grandkids grow up. I want to it's that revelation for her that she's like, I got to take this serious, you know.
Yeah.
And it sucks to have to get to that point, but hey, as long as she's doing it, I'm just happy. I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and she is. Every time I talk to her, she's working more and more of just trying to be positive, and I do catch her sometimes falling back into that negative talk, and so I just try my best to kind of reframe the conversation and bring it back to that positive light as best as I can,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
So
a purpose for your life coaching journey yourself, is that you're now is spreading the magic, if you will, with your own mother at such a crucial time too, as she's in that postmenopause years now, as I understand. And diabetes is a growing concern. There's now a type 3 diabetes as well, and relate a lot to the health of the brain. I'll get into that in another episode, but definitely we'll be sharing some details about that. But when it was difficult for you to navigate, when your mother was going through the menopause phase, how was it for you as a younger adult
Oh
trying
God.
to be there to support your mother when she's going through this?
Yeah,
And
it was hard. It was challenging because my mom, like I said, is already so negative, like minded that, it was like seeing her get so depressed sometimes where she'd almost talk about suicide. And, for
oh,
someone like me who I used to be suicidal in my past, it's scary because I know how real it feels in the moment where you feel like you just want to end it all. Like it feels very heavy, even though deep down you're like, there's that part of you that's like, no, you don't really want to die, but it's what it is. It's just like an overwhelming exhaustion of life, and it feels like you just can't get out of it. And yeah, she'd make comments and talk
oof,
like that. And so I had this fear sometimes with her because she just would get in dark places, and it was like all over the place. Sometimes she'd be fine and then bam, it was like that time and it would just hit, and she didn't want to do nothing. She didn't
mhm,
Every time we talked, it was like complaining about this and
yeah,
just negative, 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 and just like, hey, she hates life, her job sucks, she's hurting all the time. And
yeah,
it was just it's hard to be around because you don't want that to rub off on you. Because I noticed when I would get off the phone call with her, even that
right,
I was different. Like my energy was now down,
yeah,
and I was kind of
yes.
sad, and I was kind of like a little snippy even with my family because it was like it just completely it's very hard to be in that negative energy and not catch it, which is why it's so important to put yourself around positive energy and positive people that uplift you and keep you going because it really does rub off one way or another.
You
you
know,
know
isn't it? We're so fortunate. It's really quite great that we do live in an era where when we get to those dark places, no matter what is happening in our lives, be it some physical transformation or a significant traumatic event or just the day-to-day pressures of our stresses, but we live in such a time where if we don't know quite yet how to get into the right mindset, we can just put on Apple Podcast or Spotify and just tune into somebody else who's right there for us. I don't know if this has happened to you a lot, Mary, but it does to me. I'll be feeling some like heaviness, and then to release, to turn it off, to forget it, I'll naturally turn to a podcast. And isn't it amazing? As I said it before with artificial intelligence, it's like it's in your brain. It's like, ooh, girl, you need to listen to something spiritual right about now. So I'm just going to give you a nice little selection. And you turn on Spotify. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. There's like Abraham Hicks. I think I'll listen to this for 3 hours. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like out of
Mhm.
this rut. And it's almost like you've been lifted up.
Oh,
I'm very spiritual that way. I feel like my guides have just lifted me up out of this terrible darkness and
mhm.
said, no, we've got you covered. But we get to live in that era where we're lucky, where we have the all of the tools and the digital means and intelligence right at our fingertips. But
We
it's not
really
always for
are.
everybody. It's not always
Exactly.
accessible to everybody.
Yeah. And like
Right.
you say, it wasn't back, in y'all's time. And like even my mom, because she tells me all that all the time with the kids, even she's like, I wish I had the information and the support that you guys had when I was a mom. I didn't have nothing. Nobody told me about it, all the the groups. They didn't have things like that for her. And I'm like, yeah, we really are so blessed in today's world to have all that we have. And we need to take advantage of it. We need to enjoy it. We need to embrace it because you're so right. I actually right now am listening to the Kathy Heller podcast because
Oh,
I love it. She inspires me and
fantastic.
stuff. I'm trying to listen to a lot of other people's, like I'm listening to some about finances to teach myself
Mm-hmm.
and educate myself about finances. I mean, I love it because there's just a limitless
I know
amount
it's
of podcasts out there
everything
that
under
can,
the sun.
yeah,
I know it's
exactly.
just about anything you want to learn.
Yeah.
And then the ideas of these women in our group, and there's men too. But the ideas that are popping up is like, dang, I never even thought about talking about that. That's
Right? Yeah.
love it.
Like,
I want to bring everybody on just so we
I
can talk about our
know.
podcast. It's awesome. So on that note, tell us about yours.
Yeah, so mine's is the Radiant Mom Rising podcast. And yeah, I pretty much there for moms to come together and share your stories. Like that's a big part of it. People come, my guests are sharing their journeys, their stories to inspire you, uplift you, provide you with tools and strategies to help you through your daily lives and just help you, uplift you. And it's a weekly podcast that's going to be launching soon in November. So I'm very
Yes.
excited about it. Yeah. Actually, I've been so blessed with the guest interviews that I'm like, a part of me is like even wondering if I should do an early launch maybe, or even just add more episodes on because I have so many to deal. So I'm like still trying to figure it out. But for right now, I'm just
Yeah.
going to stick with my initial plan. We'll see where it goes. I can always, play around with it later, but I love it. It fills my cup. I love meeting the amazing women like you and just getting to hear your stories, your journeys, or even the struggles and to hear the challenges that people come out of. And they create such a beautiful life despite of it.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's so possible. It's so fun. So you're gonna, I get so many different topics from like people who help moms with cooking to with menopause to holistic health to just being an entrepreneur as a mom. Just it's
Yes.
all over the place. I love it. It's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited that what we're doing as moms, as women today, what it's going to do to shape the future for our children. Because
Ooh.
we're kind of like the trailblazers of this, if you think about it. And now they're growing up with a phone in their hand, and they're getting all of the benefits of what is being laid down as a foundation in our generations. And I am super stoked. That's why I have to have a healthy and happy life past menopause so I can be around to watch what our children do and then their children.
Oh,
It,
yes.
it's quite something. But I always like to ask my guests what is their favorite book or what is something that they're leaning into right now, on either an audiobook or maybe even a podcast. You mentioned some already, but what is it that's is really grabbing your attention, and why?
Yeah, well, usually, be honest, I never really was a big reader my whole life. I love the podcasting thing because I'm better at hearing things, but I will say somebody had suggested this book to me and I've been reading it. It's Fearless Living by Rhonda Britton. I don't know if
Mm,
you've ever read it, but it teaches you about living without excuses and love without regret. And it's very powerful. Like I am so excited to be reading it. It's really teaching you about how to live fearlessly and just how to not only understand what it is that you're afraid of, but creating a will of freedom, a will that helps you to face those fears when the time comes. And
beautiful.
it's really it's very empowering. And right now I'm learning about all the different type of people that could be actually fear busters or people who are actually holding you back and they don't even mean to do it. They have good intentions, but because they're projecting their own fears onto you or their own doubts or their own experience onto you, how you have to be careful of that. So there's like a lot to it that's very exciting and like I said, very empowering and helping me learn a lot about myself and even the people I'm surrounded by. So I can't wait to finish it. I'm definitely enjoying that read.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
how to be a fear buster.
Yeah, fearless
Yeah,
living. That's what I want. Yeah,
fearless
yeah.
living. We're definitely going to share that in the show notes. Fearless living.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to get that book myself and listen to it.
Yeah, actually one of my coaches is the one who actually recommended it and
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for it because it's definitely been very empowering for me.
Yeah. I like the textiles of having a book and flipping the pages, but
Ah,
when I get busy, and that's what we do,
right.
listening to it, plugging in the earbuds
Yeah.
and then just listening to the audiobook is always very helpful for that too. Oh my goodness. Mary, I am so excited for your podcast launch. I'm excited for where your Radiant Moms is going to take you and also your empowerment course. I have seen a couple of little sneak peeks of what's going on with your courses and your coaching on your Instagram handle. So tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yes. So you can definitely find me on Facebook. You can look me up at Mary Dibble or Mary Dibble Coaching, and on Instagram it's at Mary Dibble Coaching or at Mary Dibble. So, and I'll make sure to share that with you as well so you can have it in the show notes for the easy access. But yeah, or you could even visit me on my website at marydibblecoaching.com to learn more. I am always working on new stuff and expanding even my programs now to make
Good.
sure that, to make sure that I provide the most value to anyone that I work with.
That's amazing. Okay, so for our listeners right now, what is one guiding piece of advice, one little nugget, or even a life hack that you could share with them right now just to get them through this day if they're having a bad day? What would that be? What's one little gift they can give to themselves?
I would say pause, breathe and pause, and really allow yourself to get through that emotion. Let it dissipate before you respond, because that's a very powerful tool that will help you to maybe see the actual situation for what it is and allow you to respond with the love that I know deep down you want to respond with. Because it's so easy to just react. Lord knows that gets us in trouble a lot. But if you could just take that time for yourself to just stop and take care of yourself in that moment and just breathe and really think about it and then allow yourself to respond that way, you will be blown away by how much easier it is to handle the chaos and the stuff that's going on and realize, I got this. It's okay. We're just gonna go one thing at a time and get it done.
Yeah,
It's
so
actually quite
good.
incredible. Yeah.
All right. So all those menopause mamas out there, before you go into that menopause rage,
Yeah.
awesome. Way better to crack a smile than try to get yourself
Oh,
out
there's
of
nothing
that
like laughing and
shopping mall
smiling, right?
meeting.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. There's
Oh my
nothing like
gosh.
laughing and smiling. There is nothing like it. I love it.
Laugh my way through the next 10 years. I swear to God.
Yes, do it.
Or I'm going to call you up as life
There
coach.
you
Say,
go.
I have a whack job. I need some help.
Anytime, girl. Anytime. You know I'm here for you.
This has been so much fun. I love laughing. This is good. I'm so glad we finally got our schedules to think
No.
and we made this episode happen. I'm delighted. I'll share all those juicy details in the show notes. I can't wait to see more of what's happening in your world. And again, pause, be kind, and go give your mama that big hug. Tell her I'm proud of her too.
Oh,
That's
I
awesome.
will.
That's
Thank you so
awesome.
much, Mary, for having me. It was such an honor to be here with you. I love it.
Thank you.
Do you need support through your menopause transition? A menopause doula can help. You can find me at mlcoaching.com. And help me help you by filling out a simple survey, which is linked in the show notes. Your input is greatly valued and will help in the design and creation of tools, courses, and other resources for my upcoming one-on-one and group coaching programs. Take the survey, it's linked in the show notes. Like, follow, share, subscribe. And if you are enjoying this podcast, I would love to hear from you. Consider leaving a review. Spreading the word will help broaden my audience reach and further impact more women as they experience a transition.